So as most of you guys know, Ghost has embarked on their world tour starting back in April, the Skeletour of 2025. Basically touring off their new album and just embarking on just yet another Ghost world tour. But this time was a little different. So I actually went to the Boston Ritual yesterday. At the time of the recording, it's yesterday. This video probably won't post until Wednesday or Thursday, which means both the Boston and the MSG Ritual would have already happened. And I want to talk about my experience because I actually did go by myself, which was a first for me, and I'd love to get into what my experience was like and talk a little bit more about that. And if you guys out there are watching this video and you're thinking about going to the show and you're thinking about going by yourself, you have some doubts, I'd love to address any doubts that you have and maybe put your mind at ease or maybe clear some stuff up of what it was like for me and shed some light on that. I also want to talk about the show itself with the no phone ban and what the atmosphere was like and what this show was compared to the 3 other times that I've seen them in the past. So go ahead, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you never miss a video, grab your drinks and grab your seats, and let's dive into a deep dive of the Boston Ritual off of Ghost's Skeletour World Tour happening right now. Okay, so the first thing I do want to talk about before I dive into my own personal blog, I took some videos and stuff, and I'll put them in this video here. But I do firstly want to talk about the phone ban because I know it's on everybody's mind. It's top of mind. It's something different than what Ghost has done in the past. And knowing their fans, I know most people want to take videos and want to be present for social media and stuff like that. And I totally understand all that, but I'm hoping that my thoughts about what I experienced might shed some light on that. You know, if you're feeling doubtful, you're feeling nervous about the phone ban, it'll help put your mind to ease about that. So first things first, when you do walk in to the venue, if you guys are usually people that line up early to try to get in, I had a seat, so for me personally, I didn't really have to get in line super early. But if you're on the floor, if you're just someone who likes to get in there super quick and just get into the atmosphere right away, my first piece of advice would be to get in line earlier than you already have. And the reason for that is because the yonder pouches and the line to get the yonder pouch is super long and it takes forever. When I tell you I was wrapped around the building, and I'll actually put the clip that I have of the line in right now so you can check it out and see for yourself. Now, the line did move pretty quick. However, like I said, if you're someone that likes to get in there early and you like to be on your seat or be standing room, if you've got general admission tickets, you want to get in line early. Trust me on this one, you're going to want to do it. The second piece of advice is it doesn't necessarily lock your phone up like oh, my phone's getting locked up. That's not the case. You can walk out. There's usually an attendant like next to the section, or you might have to walk to find one. If you need to use your phone, they just unlock it for you. You just can't have it in the actual space itself. But let me tell you about what no phones does in a situation like that. I have been lucky enough to see Ghost 4 times now. Previous 3 times were great. My first time going to see them was awesome, but nothing compares to what I felt when they first hit the stage and all you saw was just the lights and the atmosphere that they've created without a cell phone in sight. I know it's hard these days because we live in technology and we just live around the constant need to have our phones on us. But for 2 hours to forget about it and really just self-immerse yourself into the concert itself was completely unbelievable. It was really something that I've never ever experienced before. Obviously, I'm 34 years old. I've grown up with a cell phone for most of my life, but just being in that moment and being immersed in an atmosphere where you are almost connected to the artist in a way that you've never been connected it's just every song, every lyric, every guitar riff, every drum fill just hits a little differently, knowing that you're just living in the moment. I know that sounds so hippie for me to say, but I truly cannot recall a time where I've been to a concert where I felt the way I felt walking out of that building yesterday. The set list itself is super strong. The second thing that I'm seeing is they're playing some deeper cut songs that people don't really know the lyrics to. So I don't know if Ghost is doing it. If they've done this at previous shows, you can tell me, or if they added this in, but they started to put the lyrics on the TV screens that are behind the stage, so the crowd can kind of sing along. And I think that's a great idea by Ghost to get maybe some of these newer fans that aren't familiar with their old stuff as they are with the new stuff, to learn the lyrics, to get into the song more and to sing along. And you know, every Ghost fan knows out there that Tobias is very big on crowd interaction and wants the crowd to be immersed in the situation and just pulling everything he can out of the audience, hence the phone ban. But I think putting the lyrics up on the stage for certain parts was a really good idea. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the actual stage production itself. Now, clearly, them being on a world tour, you know that their production value budget's probably going to be a lot bigger than what it was. One thing that I did notice was there were a lot of digital screen usage where I think they used a lot of lighting effects and pyro in the past. And I was actually telling Joey about this certain situation where they were using digital screens versus more like practical effects like pyro, smoke, and things like that. And I feel like the digital screen was a really, really cool replacement. And you can kind of see, you know, in the picture that's behind me right now, they obviously had like a video camera for the crowd shots, and they integrated that with some digitalized video clips that they made their own. And overall, it brought a really, really good production value to what they were playing, especially with the last three songs in the encore set, where they really wanted the crowd to be as into it as possible. And that's when I really noticed the physical video set pieces in the background versus what they were using on their old tours where it was actual set pieces on the stage. So just a really cool, different budget going into this tour that I think is going to win a lot of people over. The final thing before I go into what it was like going by myself that I want to talk about is actually how they sounded. So big difference this time around is obviously Tobias has the half mask with his mouth fully exposed with the face paint and everything taking over more of what the mask used to cover. And I can honestly say that this is probably the best that he has ever sounded, ever, since I've seen them. The past three times he sounded great, nothing wrong there, but he legitimately sounded top of his game, voice just in prime shape. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he was able to actually move his mouth and allow his vocal cords to do what they're supposed to do instead of being subdued by a mask. Nothing against mask bands. Obviously Slipknot and those guys have made a killing off of what they do, and Corey Taylor always sounds great. But Tobias has said in multiple interviews that he's always wanted to do a sort of half mask thing, where it didn't feel like his face was being just like kind of captured in this mask. So good for him. I'm glad he was finally able to get that done. And then also good for the band. The band sounded tight. The guitars, the production, the bass, the drums, the keyboards, every aspect of the band and their musicianship was just so tight and just so big sounding, especially in a place like TD Garden where the sound can be super iffy, just because it's a big space. But so shout out to the sound crew and the production crew for making them sound as tight and as big as they were, because it was really a unique sound like I had never heard before. So I went to the show yesterday by myself for the very first time. It was actually my first time ever doing that. And, you know, when you do something like that for the first time, you're going to obviously think that you know, people are going to be there to judge you, or people are like, oh, like this kid's by himself. Not like, I didn't mean to say, oh, like taking pity on me or anything, but, you know, it can feel a little awkward. It can feel a little strange because, again, you're by yourself and most of the people around you are with their friends or family members or whatever. So I did take some videos. So I actually started my night off at Hurricanes, which is one of my favorite bars in Boston. Just a really good atmosphere. I'm a huge sports guy too, so I do often come here before, you know, a Bruins game, Celtics games, or whoever I'm there to see, and it just provides a really great atmosphere. And I actually got to sit down next to two people that were there as well by themselves, ironically enough. So we were talking about Ghost and everything like that, and talking about, you know, just the music and all that good stuff. So it was actually a really good atmosphere to start off in. Another great bar to go to in Boston is Tavern in the Square. This is kind of where I had my second drink of the night, and as you can see, it's all packed, and you can see a little bit behind me the Ghost line. But again, it was just more of a good atmosphere of people just all there for the same reason, just kind of getting ready for the show, and everybody couldn't have been nicer. So if you're worried about like going and people not wanting to talk to you or not wanting to do any of that, you're in good hands for sure. So honestly, guys, I mean, without a doubt, I hope that sheds a little bit more light into what it's like being by yourself, and, you know, just having a little bit more of nerves. The number one thing I can just say, that if you're nervous about it, just be aware of your surroundings, and, you know, if you can make a couple friends and you can walk with them, or, you know, stand in line with them, it'll make it a lot easier. Luckily, you know, the people that I was able to meet throughout the night were fantastic. They were super welcoming, and they were super helpful, and just, you know, it made the doubt, and I don't want to say loneliness, but maybe you're someone that does get lonely, and made the loneliness of just going to a show by yourself almost non-existent. But then once you're in the show itself, that all disappears, because, again, I think Ghost and their team and their production did a great job of just immersing everyone in the fan base into their show this time around. And as you can see with the picture behind me, a lot of smiling faces, a lot of hands in the air, and just full-on captivation of what's going on. So that's pretty much all I had, guys. It was all in all, it was a great night. It was a great show. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask me, if you have any thoughts about one of the previous shows that you've been to on the tour, leave them down below in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If there's something that I may have missed, I'd love to get your input. And obviously, if you have questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them however I can. But if you have a chance to go to any of these remaining shows, please try to head out and get a ticket. It's worth the wait. It's worth the price. And it's worth locking your phone away for 2 hours. Those are really my thoughts. What are yours? Be sure to leave them down below, as I said. And if I missed anything, please feel free to reach out down below in the comments and let me know. Other than that, guys, thank you all so much for all the love and support. As always, make sure to leave a like. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video. If you guys haven't checked out the update video yet of where Joey and I have been, it's actually pinned to the YouTube page. So you get all your information there. I talk a little bit more about where we've been, what we've been up to. So if you're curious as to where we've been, that video has all the info. Other than that, thank you so much for all the love and support. We'll see you in the next video. Later.